What's up, guys? Welcome to Dive In Garage. Today I got Hank's carburetor on the bench. We're gonna get it race ready. Let's dive in. All right, so in the last video, in case you didn't see, I took Hank out testing on a dirt road, and it was extremely bumpy, and the truck was bouncing all over the place. And I think what was happening was the carb was flooding. So we can't be having that. So in this video, I'm gonna show you 3 different things that you can do to your carb to get it ready for off-road racing. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take the top off, and I'll bring you back once the air horn is set to the side. Alrighty, I got the air horn off, and I went ahead and took out the primaries. I'm gonna get those clean while I got it off, good opportunity, and went ahead and dumped out the gas that was in here. Now don't forget to take out this little spring that goes right there, and I also took out these baffles. Alright, so this is where we're gonna start here, and the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get right under here to these sprayer nozzle. So go ahead and take out these screws. Okay, this is our first upgrade that we're going to make, and what we're going to do here is let me get this little gasket out of the way. All right, what we're going for here is this little weight and this little check ball that's under it. So I'm going to flip this into my hand, and you can check it out. Here we go. Now that I'm all covered in gas, that's awesome. Okay, so this is what we're looking for: this little check ball and this little weight. So this weight is your enemy when you're trying to do any sort of off-road or non-level racing. So when you're doing any sort of off-roading, what happens is this weight is moving up and down as you're working the throttle, because the throttle works the power valve, which shoots the jets. So what we're going to do here is we're going to replace it with something that comes in every single rebuild kit. So when you buy a rebuild kit, it comes with a bunch of stuff. And there's one thing you might ask yourself: what in the world is this for? This little guy right here. If you can see that little spring. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting this spring on the base of the sprayer nozzle to push down on that check ball. Because anytime you're off kilter, left, right, up or down, that weight isn't properly pressing down on the check ball. So what might happen is as you're working the throttle, you might get some fuel come dripping out of here, and that's going to cause you a whole mess of problems. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our gasket in place like this, and then we're going to get our check ball, which, where'd it go? Here it is. We're going to go ahead and drop this guy down in there where it goes. We're going to place the smaller end in the hole first, and now we can make sure that everything's aligned, and we can put our sprayer nozzle right back in. Perfect. So now what that will allow us to do is just to be off level, because if you're in a car, passenger car, or if you're in a truck that never ever sees the dirt, as I like to say, big van, truck see dirt, just saying. Anyway, if you're in a truck that never sees the dirt, this won't matter to you. So now that we have that accomplished, we've solved ourselves one problem, and so far, if you've ever bought a rebuild kit, it's cost us $0. So awesome. That in there like that. Like that. Boom. Perfect. All right, next thing we're going to tackle is going to be this right here, this channel. See if you can see. So this channel right here is where you'll also run into some issues. So this channel right here, what happens is the fuel comes in from this side, and then it fills up this bowl, and of course some shoots over here, over spray. And then once this needle comes up and it seats, then the fuel will come over here, and it'll come over to that side, fill up that bowl, and then both the seats will, needles will close, and the fuel will be cut off, and then it'll be bypassed back to your tank, right? But in a off-road situation where you got this and this happening, the fuel might come up through here, across your bowl, and then fill up that side, or whichever way you're leaning. So the gas might all pour to this side here, and then what will happen is it'll come up into here, and it'll flood your engine and kill it. It won't be able to run. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna block this fuel crossover off. And there's a few different ways you can do this. You can get some like fuel hose or some vacuum hose and kind of jam it in there, but a lot of people will do that and maybe jam it right in the middle, or you're still allowing fuel to come here to the middle and then back over to this bowl. So you're creating what is essentially still a larger bowl. So I'm not going to be doing that. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be blocking it off here at the very ends. So almost as if this passage isn't even here. And this is pretty easy. And to do that, we're going to be using a little bit of this and some silly putty, Play-Doh, whatever you can find. Because what we're going to do is create a little block off on each side like this. Okay, no, this isn't going to stay here. Don't worry. It's temporary. What this will allow us to do, though, is create a temporary barrier to give our epoxy something to stop against. Otherwise, if you just pour it in here, it's going to dump out into your bowls, fill up your jets, and you're going to be having a good old day. Anyway, so yeah, so let me get this out of here, and I'll get it prepped, and we'll go ahead and fill this, and we'll set this to the side because our next work is going to be on the top side. All right, so now that we got these corners filled up here, just going to grab your seal all and just dump it in. No, there's nothing wrong with using the fuel hose method, but I just wanted something maybe a little better. But if you think one day you're going to be using a single feed system again, definitely don't do this method. All right, that's looking pretty good. I stuck a piece of 2x4 in here just to keep it level. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to add a little more. It's a little tough to see because it's clear, but look closely, you can see it just fine. There we go. Awesome, looking good. It doesn't need to be full to the top. It just needs to be full enough to where the fuel won't even try to go that way. And then once, in a couple minutes, I'm gonna remove this epoxy, or this silly putty here, borrowed it from my daughter. And then we'll be able to let this cure the rest of the way. It's going to cure for, I think it's 6 hours. So I'm just gonna let it sit overnight, let it do its thing. All right, now that I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and set this to the side, and we're gonna work on the air horn section now. Alrighty, while that epoxy is drying, we're going to turn our attention to the air horn section. So first thing first, we're going to go ahead and get these floats out. And just set them to the side for now. This is your regular needle, and of course the seat there. So when you're driving off-road and you're going over a lot of bumps, inclines, all kinds of stuff, your floats are constantly moving, right? So they're constantly going, if you're going over bumps, they're going like, oh, let me get you a better angle. Here we go. They're constantly going up and down like that. And when you're going over lots of bumps, they might move excessive amounts. And what happens is they will let too much fuel in or too little fuel, and they'll the needles will either, maybe they'll get stuck, or like I said, maybe they'll let too much fuel in, and then you got a flooding issue again. So now we're going to solve that. So far we fixed potential flooding issue on the crossover. We're about to fix the other issue right here. Now how are we going to do that? Because all we have are these needles and then the seats that come with it, right? So what you're going to need is one of these. Edelbrock sells a 1465 part number, and what it is it's a spring-loaded needle and seat. Let me get this out for you. All right, so this is what we got. So here you'll see just a standard needle, right? But in this kit, your needle is actually hollow. If I can pick it up. You see there, it has a hole in the middle where this little spring goes. This little spring right here. So this little spring sits in there. And then the base goes into that. And what you've done is now you've allowed this a little bit of motion in this needle here. You see how it moves in and out like that? So now what you've done is you stabilize your floats. So when you're going over extremely bumpy terrain, or again, when you're degreed from side to side, this will keep your floats where they're supposed to be. And we'll also, once we put these in, we're going to reset the floats to make sure that it's the proper, I guess, drop and the proper float level. So anyway, that's it right there. If you want, you can replace the seats. They're all the same. I'll go ahead and replace them just for the fact of having the kit all the way fully assembled. There's our old seat with a little mini filter. So we'll go ahead and put our new gasket ring. Our little mini filter. Throw that in there like that. Take our old seat out, which is still good. And we'll get this installed. Okay, got our new seats in, and we're going to grab our needle with the spring-loaded back, which is not that one, this one here. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in place. And then we're going to get our other needle that came with the kit, the spring, throw it in there, and then get our new base and put that in there like that. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and set the floats. I'm not gonna worry about showing you guys to see how to set these things. I'm sure all you gotta do is bend this area here or that area there to set the drop and the float stop level. So I'm gonna get these back together, and then we're gonna check back in on the base section. All right, so check this out. I know I just said I wasn't gonna show you this, but check it out. So I got the spring-loaded needle and seat in on both sides. And you can see here, this is where it dropped to with the needle and seat. And then I adjusted it so that way a 7/16 inch bit will just barely graze it. So look at the difference. This thing is almost, I don't know, what is that, like a quarter? Maybe a little bit more? Because of that spring-loaded needle. So you are gonna have to adjust this quite a bit. So well, what I do is I just kind of lift it up and then I put one finger on each end like this and I sort of press in this motion. So that way it bends that little piece right there. So you want to lift up first. You don't want to be pressing down into the needle. Even though, I mean, you think about it, that spring is in there and you really aren't pressing on the needle. Anyways, yeah, so grab it up like this, put a thumb and a finger on the other end and do this motion. And that'll get you your base setting again. So if it moves a tiny bit, that's fine. But if you're seeing like it move like this when you're putting the drill bit in, not fine. So it's just a tiny bit, but look, and then look over here. Yeah, look at that movement. Way too much. Okay, so I'm gonna get this one adjusted and we'll move on. And then I guess this kit also made a huge difference on the natural fall of the floats. So what I like to do here is I like to get this little tab right here. This is how you adjust the fall. And I like to bend it kind of way up. Too much. And don't freak out, I'll tell you why in a second. All right, so you get your little tab here, your little pin. Set that thing back through, like that. And so when you flip it over, you'll see that's not even close. So you get your little ruler out that they give you in the kit. Then you measure. So that is, you can call that 20, 30 seconds. Not really important right now because we're shooting for 1 inch. So you'll see when we flip it back over this way, you got your 7/16 measurement here, but when you let it fall naturally, it should be 1 inch. So what you do is you just, again, you grab both sides and you just gently pull on it. Pull on some, come back and measure. Not quite there. Pull on it some more. Come back and measure. Almost there. Pull on it some more. Come back and measure. That might have been too much. Nope, not there yet. Pull on it some more. Come back and measure. Almost there. Pull on a little more. Come back and measure. That'll work right there. So instead of putting it on, measuring, taking it off, taking the pin out, on and off 100 times, you just bend this little tab right there, little tab too much to where it stays here when it wants to fall naturally, and you just slowly open it up until it gets to where you want it. And then again, you get your little what is this, L? You get your little measuring stick out, and then you call it there. It's good to go there, and I already did the other side. So no problem. So now our floats are recalibrated with the spring-loaded needle and seat kit. Awesome. I'm gonna go check on the base now. All right, I checked on the base. The seal all was still a little, we'll call it gummy. And when I tried to take the silly putty off of the sides, it started oozing out. So I just put it right back, no problem. And that's the beauty of the silly putty. You can just keep putting it on and taking it off as many times. So in case you're wondering, well, Ben, if we're sealing off the crossover, how the heck are we gonna get fuel to the other side? Well, you're in luck because Edelbrock designed these to be dual fed. Now, why didn't they do that from the factory? Well, I don't really have the answer to that. I have a guess though. So my guess is that the carburetor is designed for the guy who's maybe stuck on the side of the road, or you got lucky enough to get stuck at an AutoZone, or maybe unlucky, or O'Reilly, whatever your flavor of parts store is, and your carburetor is just smoked. I'm talking it's dead, there's no saving it, there's no rebuild kit, you get just no hope. So I think the goal of this carburetor was to be an off-the-shelf solution in case you needed to buy one, pop it on, and keep on moving. And give me a second here while I loosen up this nut. Alrighty, got that plug out, and yeah, I mean, if you look in there, it's ready to be dual fed. These things came ready to go. Again, I think this is aimed at for maybe a more commercial off-the-shelf solution rather than what we're doing here. We're doing a little bit more mods. So what I'm going to be doing is getting another one of these AN fittings for the other side because I really like the way it worked out. I'm going to be using this Russell fitting here, and the part number is 64020. If you can see it there. This is for an AN6 feed. And they also make them in other sizes too if you want an 8 or even a 10. I don't know why you'd be feeding this with a 10 though. Alright, so this is pretty easy. All you do is get your new AN fitting, screw it in there, and I'm just going to snug her down, and then bam, this thing is ready to be dual fed. Boom. Now you're set up for a dual feed. Not too bad, huh? Not too bad. Alright, y'all, that's it for mods. So we did a couple things. We put the spring, so we now have a spring-loaded check ball in our nozzle. We sealed up the crossover, and that is taking a minute to dry. It's been about 30 minutes so far, and it's still kind of gummy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit overnight, come back in the morning, and check it out. And then also what we did was we installed some spring-loaded needles and seats, and we got the floats reset so they'll make the truck run right. And then also, of course, because we sealed off the fuel crossover, we got this thing set up for a dual feed. That's pretty much it, guys. So like I said, I'm gonna let this sit for a while. I'll come back in the morning, slap it all together, and I'll put some pictures on my Instagram. It's a good opportunity. If you're not following me on Instagram, check it out. You'll get the backstory for this guy right here. You'll see that on the channel soon. And if you haven't noticed, I finally got in some Dive-In Garage merch. This is the first shirt I'm wearing right now. It's a pretty simple design. I dig it. So I'll tell you right now, this is not going to turn into a buy my merch channel. But if you would like to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. There's going to be links in the description down below, and there should be a little banner down below if you are interested in helping me out. All right, guys. Well, now you've seen everything we got to do to get your carb ready for off-road racing. So if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. And as always, get out there and dive in your next project. Catch you next time.